Hi there, welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario, and I am preparing for a visit from my son, and one of his very favorites is New York style cheesecake. Now I am going to share with you a super decadent cheesecake recipe, and don't be afraid from the ingredients because it's really rich, really decadent, but it serves a lot of people. And since we're only 3 people, and with my son's girlfriend 4, what we're going to do is slice it up, and after we have our Thanksgiving dinner, I will freeze the rest, and then they could just be taken out and defrosted to be enjoyed over and over. So one thing you're going to need is a spring form pan and a 10-inch one. This one is actually 10 1/4. So it's 26 centimeters, made in Germany, super high quality. I've had this for 30 years. This is where quality shows. It lasts forever. And you're going to need graham crackers. Now, not loyal to any brand, you're going to need 20 of these. So get whatever kind. I've been finding the originals hard to find, but I've been finding the honey graham crackers. You know what? It doesn't make that much of a difference. And then lots of butter, sugar, and eggs. So follow along. I'm going to measure out right now 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to melt these down. I'm throwing it in the microwave, but you can do it over a simmering pan also. I'm going to start off by buttering my springform pan, and make sure you butter this generously. Don't be shy. It's better to have too much butter than not enough because you do not want your crust to stick. And I also come up the sides a bit. You want this to release really well. The sides, you just need to do it lightly, but the bottom, like I said, make sure every little crevice is covered. There you go, perfectly buttered. And now for our graham crackers, I'm going to put them in the food processor, and I'm going to make sure you can see what I'm doing here. So I've got 20 of these, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a good pinch of salt. Now a pinch is what you can fit when you grab your fingers together and grab. And it's maybe a 1/4 teaspoon, not really sure. I'm going to pulse these, and as I pulse them, I will add my 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Just pulse it until you have a very fine grind. I have a fine grind. I'm going to drizzle in my butter. And this is what you end up with. Moist crumbs, very buttery. And we're going to place those in the pan. Now we like a thin crust. If you like it thicker, you can use more crackers. We really just like a little tiny bit of the crust at the bottom, and we do not go up the sides. Some people do. We prefer not to have them that way. Now, I just try to smooth it out along the bottom evenly, as even as you can go. It's nice and moist right now with all that butter, so it makes it easy to spread. And you want to do this while the butter is still warm because it just makes it that much easier. It creates almost like a little dough. And then when we get to this point, we want to press it down. I have this measuring cup that has a very smooth bottom, and I like to use it for this because I can go around the edge really nicely and get every little single section pressed down neatly. Now you can do this with your hand. it just won't be as smooth and neat, and I like to have it nice and smooth. Now, just as I finish this, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Remember, this is a crust, so you want it nice and packed. We don't want it crumbling. There we have it, nice smooth crust. What I'm gonna do is place this in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes, just to harden that butter up. Once it's cooled, I'm going to place it on a baking sheet and in a 350 oven for 15 minutes until it's golden brown. Well, if you've been watching our channel, you know I hate waste. And graham crackers is something I do not use very often. We're not huge dessert people, and I do stick to a carnivore diet mostly. So desserts are kind of out of my wheelhouse. It's usually for when we have guests or special events. So I don't want these to go to waste. And they do go stale very quickly. Once you've opened the package, or even if you haven't, if you've left them on the shelf for a while, they kind of get like a rancid flavor to them. So I wouldn't be using that for a special dessert, especially when you're using 7 blocks of cream cheese. So what I do is I place them in a 500 milliliter jar. 20 crackers fits perfect. I don't grind them up. I just place them in whole, and then I vacuum seal the jar. Let me show you this. So place my lid on there. I have this great little sealer, and I will link this below for the Amazon shop. And just place that on there. I'm using a wide mouth. It has 2 attachments, a wide mouth and then for a regular size. And I just vacuum seal this. I find that for this type of jar, about 45 to 60 seconds is best. You can usually hear the sound difference when it is vacuum sealed, and then I always go a little bit longer. Let me cut the video because you don't need to wait a minute. It's been 50 seconds and I heard the sound change. So I'm just gonna shut that off, let the machine just relax a second, and then pull it off, and it is stuck on there good. There you go. If I can't push it off with my thumbs, it's well sealed. I don't even need to put a band on this. This is vacuum sealed. So my leftover package is now saved on the shelf for future use. Don't let things waste because you haven't sealed them properly. This is a great way to vacuum seal cookies, graham crackers, beans, pastas. If you do this, you'll save a lot of money. So I'm going to link this little machine because it is a good gadget. And I love gadgets that work. So back to our cheesecake. What I've done is I have taken out 7 blocks of cream cheese. That's 3.5 pounds. Use any kind you want. Most people find Philadelphia cream cheese easily. You could also get the Costco Kirkland brand, which is actually a very good cream cheese. Or if you're just going to a cheese counter, ask for 3.5 pounds of cream cheese. This needs to be sat at room temperature. So we want the cheese itself to get to room temperature. And right now out of the fridge, it's pretty cold. At the same time, grab 1 cup of sour cream and let that come up to room temperature as well. You also need 5 eggs. I'd say large eggs at room temperature. Now our eggs are always at room temperature, but if you keep your eggs in the fridge, take out 5, let them sit with the cream cheese and the sour cream. Everything should be at room temperature because we want to blend everything in very, very smoothly. Here we have our 7 packages of 8 ounces of cream cheese each, or 3.5 pounds total. We are going to blend this with 5 room temperature eggs, but those eggs we'll add in later. First, let's cream this cream cheese as smooth as possible. Take your time, it's worth the weight. And make sure you keep scraping down the sides as you get everything blended nicely. On the side, what you're going to do is take 2¼ cups of sugar and ½ a cup of flour and sift those together because we're going to be adding it to this mixture. Slowly, beat again, add some more sugar, beat again, and this way you'll add your 2¼ cups of sugar and ½ a cup of flour evenly. Keep scraping those sides down. Really important to get everything well mixed and blended super smooth. See how creamy it's getting? At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of that 1 cup of room temperature sour cream and a little bit of egg. I'm going to mix in a little bit at a time of each, just so that it blends in nicely. And just keep doing this until everything is well incorporated. Also to this, we're going to add 1½ teaspoons of pure vanilla. As you can see, this is how I measure, but if you want to be more accurate, by all means, go ahead. And again, just keep mixing, make it as smooth as possible. Don't rush this process because this will make a difference. Meanwhile, what I need to do is layer a couple of sheets of foil, and I crisscross them. What we're going to do is place our pan on this and wrap our pan nice and tight. The outside, not the inside. The reason we're doing this is we don't want any water from our water bath to get into that crispy crust that we've created. So just fold over and try to be as neat as you want, not going on the inside, of course. And if you feel like there's any edges that might let some water in, add some more layers. If you have that barbecue foil, which is huge sheets, those are great. I didn't have any, so what I'm doing is just making do with what I do have. As you can see, just go over, just make sure that I can get that filling in there without touching the foil, but I do want to make sure that it's nice and tight. What I'm going to do here is get a roasting pan, place my springform pan inside it, and I am going to put some boiling water in there about halfway up the side of the pan. I'll be adding the water in after I've placed the pan in the oven. Right now, look at how creamy and smooth this batter is. This is where the decadence comes in. It's amazing. What I'm going to do is slowly pour it in to my mold. And literally this comes right to the top of the pan. There you go. Everything's ready to go. The water will go about to this point, halfway up the pan, but I'm going to place this in the oven first. The oven is at 350 degrees, and it will be staying in there for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, I'm reducing the temperature to 325 and cooking an additional 30 minutes. Once that time has elapsed, I'm going to cancel everything, shut everything off. We are going to leave this in the oven with the door ajar for another hour, just as the oven cools down. Once that's happened, you take it out and make sure you leave it on a wire rack to cool completely. We're not going to unmold this right now. We're just going to leave it on that wire rack and let it cool. It will take several hours, so don't rush this. But as you can see, it's a labor of love. Look at this beauty. 0 cracks. That's the perfection of a beautiful cheesecake. Well, here you go, folks. This has been chilled overnight. This is our New York style cheesecake with 0 cracks. You see that? So this method of cooking in a water bath and then letting the oven finish off cooling with the door slightly open makes all the difference. There is 0 cracks here. I'm going to open up this spring form. There we go. Now, if you want, you could run a little bit of a knife around it, but I just wanted to show you. Look at this. I'm going to pick that up. It's really heavy. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful cheesecake, 0 cracks. Make sure that you slice this up nice and even. Separate each slice with a little bit of parchment paper. You can place it in the freezer and just take it out and enjoy it whenever you feel like a slice of cheesecake. One thing that I do is I keep it absolutely plain, and the reason is I take out a bunch of my homemade jams, blueberry, strawberry, peach, chocolate syrup, or caramel sauce, and I have those all handy, and people just drizzle what they like on their cheesecake. So keeping it plain keeps a lot of options. Now I hope you try this decadent recipe, and please like, share, subscribe, and make sure that you go out and live your very best life. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, from our family to yours. Enjoy the company of your loved ones.